now. Right now, I will be calling your names. And if you could just tell us in brief, probably within 30 seconds, how your week was, how the last session was, and if you had your empathy buddy call or had a facilitation group during the week, how those were, how they went. So right now, let me call Payal.
Hi, everyone. My empathy practice has been more in conversations with my mom and my son. In terms of my buddy call, I think my buddy calls and me are jinxed. My buddies are generally in a very different time zone. So by the time we get to agree, we've not met. But I have Jaya here with me. So Jaya and I work together. Sometimes we do have conversations around the entire bit. Yeah, I think my week has been good. It's been very, very tiring. So the weekend today was very relaxing for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Payal. Anjali? Anjali, I think you're muted.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I had a good week. The buddy call did not work, but I was able to, make some notes about my experience last week. So I think I am enjoying the entire experience of unlearning some of the learned habits of communication. And that is something that I'm trying to engage in each time. So the listening bit becomes more important. I like that. And then I also like that I get to understand the other person better. So that is all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Anjali. Laura?
I did a buddy call with Michelle, which was really fun, in spite of her being in Ireland and it was 10 o'clock at night for her. And then I would welcome any feedback on how people round up others to do an empathy circle, whether online or in person. It's kind of, we're back on lockdown kind of out here. And so I'm probably not going to do one in person. I mean, not lockdown, but mask wearing, and I'm just not really into it in person. So I welcome any feedback on that. But, my week went well and, doing a lot of stuff.
Thank you, Laura. Right. I think we'll get back to you on that later. Jaya?
Hi, everyone. I had my buddy call with Shauna this week. For her, it was 9:30 at night, and for me, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. And both of us, after the call, I think both of us felt energized. And I had another empathy call in the family with my niece, who was very upset with the way her job was going. So we had a 1-hour chat, which was, I was just listening to what she had to say and empathizing. So that was something beautiful that happened this week. Yeah, that's all I have to say for now.
Thank you, Jaya. BJ Quitten? You're muted, BJ.
Yeah, greetings, everyone. I did an empathy call with Jana on last week. It was really interesting. She gave me a lot of great information. She's very passionate. I learned a lot about how similar our experiences are, which was very interesting considering we were from different parts of the world. And as far as facilitating events this past week, it was really interesting. My ex-husband's mother died, I guess my ex-mother-in-law. So I was able to talk with him for about an hour and give him some wisdom regarding just listening and not forming an opinion. So I think overall it was a great week, and I am happy to be here and looking forward to my next empathy call with Larry.
Thank you, BJ. Twain?
Hello. I'll begin with, I had a really positive experience with my buddy call with Kathy Kidd. I had a really enjoyable call, and I learned more about her and what she's passionate about, and I enjoyed that experience. It's been a bit of a challenging week for me. I'm dealing with some type of illness, and I also had a surgical procedure on my leg that involved having surgery 3 days in a row, the beginning of the week. So, you know, I'm here. I'll do my best to participate and stay on point, but it's been a challenging week, so far.
Thank you, Dwayne. I hope you feel better soon and get well. Floyd?
Good morning, everyone. I didn't get a chance to have a session with Payal. I'm sorry. Hopefully, Payal, in the future, you and I can connect. I would love to do a session with you when we can coordinate. We're only 13 and a half hours apart. So when one person's in the morning, the other person's at night. And so we have to coordinate that schedule. I'm looking forward to that. And like Dwayne, I've had a challenging week with a partial knee replacement, and so my bones aren't very happy right now, but I'm doing okay, and I'm grateful to be here with everyone. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Floyd. I hope you have a quick recovery.
Thank you.
Sarika?
Hi, happy to be here as well. I was able to do an empathy call with Larry. That was very, I guess, rejuvenating. It's been a very busy week, so I haven't had much time to pause. And so Larry and I were able to just spend some time reflecting over pausing and practicing empathy circle facilitating. So that was really enjoyable. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarika. Jenna? Jenna.
I did a buddy call with BJ, she mentioned, and yes, our American experiences are quite analogous, similar, and yeah, and thank you. And I also met today with Joyce this morning. She's my buddy for this week, and we had a nice exchange. And I also had a little empathy circle with two other people. The third person couldn't come, and there were some technical problems. Even though I had the perfect timer, my my windows kept switching, but I figured out how to fix that too. And the sharing was quite meaningful and quite contrast between losing contact with family members who have been hurtful, and yet the strong sense of connection from being in an empathy circle and being able to create that connection. So that was very beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. Vera?
Yeah, had a great week. It was, I reached out to my my empathy circle buddy, and I didn't hear back. I even tried to friend them on LinkedIn, and that didn't work either. So hopefully we'll connect at some point. I hope so. All right, so I did an empathy circle with my family, and it was good because we were able to kind of work out some misunderstandings. And yeah, I'm looking forward to today. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Vera. Trey? Trey? Okay, I'll
Trey's not feeling well.
Okay.
He just messaged me. He has COVID, so he just wanted to observe. So whatever room he's in, he'll just be an observer.
Okay, thank you, Edwin. Cheng?
Hello, everyone. I have good week, but very busy. My buddy call experience with Shirin was very nice. She got a lot of things that I'm interested in, and we talk about traveling and culture and all this stuff. So that's really inspiring for me. And my week was really very busy, so I couldn't really do any empathy circle with anyone. But today I tried to do it with my mom, but I couldn't get there on time because it's too late for her. My mom is in Thailand, so the time I'm going to call her, she already sleep, so I didn't do it. Yep. So that's my week today. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheng. Shauna?
Hi, everyone. I had my buddy call with Jaya. It was lovely. I got to learn, more about her and her passion. And likewise, she was able to just, probably inject some energy, energy that I needed to get through the week. This week has been pretty intense, so I'm somewhat asleep because I've been doing a lot of long hours. However, I did 2 empathy circles. The first one was, getting into the groove mostly with my friends, and that I discovered how one of the challenges I faced was how do you the challenges of someone coming and interjecting, trying to ask a question, trying to force, can I just ask a question? I need to ask a question. And I had to learn how to let the person avoid asking in that empathy circle. That was my first one. And the second one was with my classmates and a mentee, and that was pretty good. I was able to understand how to, hold along with them, all of us holding that circle. So that was something I was pretty, pleased with. But yeah, so overall, I was able to do that and trying to recover because I noticed I'm exhausted, but I am here. So it's good to see everyone.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Shauna. Johnny?
Oh, yes, ma'am. My week was all right. I wound up actually doing my facilitation of Empathy Circle and my buddy call the same day. So that was last night. That made it a little bit exhausting doing all that back to back. But my buddy was Alyssa, and came to find out we had quite a bit in common. Both of us are interested in figuring out how to make the Empathy Circle model functional within both of our focuses, which was conflict resolution. So we spoke about that in our week and our empathy circles and how they went. So that's my week.
Thank you, Johnny. Kevin? Is Kevin there? You're mute, Kevin. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was able to have my buddy call with Krista. It was very rewarding, a very positive experience. I learned a lot in reference to how we were able to still connect. We connected the first time and got more deeper. I attempted to do a circle with my colleagues at work. It was a little bit more challenging in reference to actually listening and them putting their part into just listening without trying to solve a problem that we were just discussing. So it was still a work in progress, but it was very rewarding.
Thank you, Kevin. Tarlis?
Morning. I'm doing okay. I wasn't feeling too well last week, but I was able to do an empathy circle with some family, and it was very interesting. At first, they were a little puzzled when I was giving the instructions, and then once I kind of did a demonstration with them, they were better understanding. It was hard for them to be quiet and be active listeners, was the most challenging part for them. But I think it also allowed us to open up and express to each other with much more, I would say, integrity and honesty. So that was enjoyable. And other than that, I've just been hanging on strong.
Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you.
Deirdre, I know I was supposed to be your buddy, so forgive me. I've had a very busy week. And so would you let us know about your week?
Okay, I'm on the ferry, so I won't turn on my camera. I'm glad to hear that you were thinking about having the connection. We had a death in the family, and my husband had urgent surgery, so I definitely had a few things that we were juggling. But it's quite loud, and I'm more than happy to say that life goes on, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Deirdre. Did I miss anyone? I think not. All right. So now who am I passing it to now next? Edwin, is
Celine.
it Kathy? Celine? Okay. So Celine, I pass it to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to address some of your questions and comments. I really appreciate what you put into the feedback form. It's very helpful for us. And I think I may have mixed up some of last week's and this week's. So here we go. I'm going to ask also help from some of the trainers to, if you want to add to it, as long as we don't take up too much time. One question was about correcting the listeners' reflection back, understanding. How do we do that? How do we take the space to do that? And some of the things I've seen people do are something like say, and I want to be heard for this and this and this, if the listener hasn't reflected back something that's really important to me. I know I've done that just so that I'm feeling satisfied. So that's one thing you can do, or say, yes, and I'd like to change this a little bit that you said, so that the purpose of this is that the speaker feels heard. And that's another question that was made is, are we listening to understand or to make the speaker feel heard? And the way I take this is that we want the speaker to feel heard to their satisfaction. So I want to ask trainers, do you want to add anything to this topic that I'm not saying? Okay.
Bill had something.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Bill.
Oh, just I totally agree, but it's also, we're not like precluding understanding. One of the I think the aspects of the empathy circle is that we don't get into like black and white too much. We seek to. So if you understand why you're being heard, while you seek the speaker's feeling heard, that's fine too. That's all.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. Anyone else? Okay. And I was really happy to hear this question are there empathy circles in other languages? And I have done some work with a group of Spanish-speaking people. Larry and I have conducted an empathy circle training for Spanish-speaking people and hope to do more of that. I'm going to put my information in the chat in case anybody wants to contact me about that. And I don't know about empathy circles in other languages other than Spanish, but would love to hear that that's happening. So that's my answer to that question. Anybody have input on that? Anne?
Yeah, I know that there are some happening in French and Portuguese. So it's possible to get in touch with those people. So if you want to get in touch with me, then I can signpost you.
Okay, wonderful.
And Polish, I know.
Polish, yeah.
Polish, yeah.
Great. Okay. Happy about that. And then this is a question that's asked frequently, you know, what if a participant is not abiding by the rules? And today we're going to be working with challenges. So you are going to be dealing with that. And there are a lot of different ways. One of the ways that I have really appreciated is when somebody has asked me, would you please stay in your role of the silent listener? So using the different roles to help somebody kind of get out of asking questions or whatever. And another one that approach that I've enjoyed is referring to the values. So for example, we have a value of mutuality. That means that everybody gets to be heard to their satisfaction, meaning don't interrupt them. But to have empathy for the person who might be interrupting or asking questions, and know that their intentions are to be helpful. So you can say that, oh, I see that you really want to help understanding, but would you please stay in your role of the silent listener, so nobody's feelings get hurt. Anyone else want to add to that? What I said? Okay, we'll have a chance to practice that today. And I think we have talked about, should somebody come if they're not in a great mood and not going to be fully present. And we have some folks today who, because of physical illness or pain or whatever, have said, I might not be able to be fully present. And I like that, you know, taking responsibility. And the goal is to be fully present when we can. So show up and do the best that you can is my answer to that. And I think that's all we have for today. Again, thank you for filling out the feedback form. It's very helpful. Appreciate it. So I have another question coming in. I'm not going to take any more, just this one. I think, yes, and I have a little form here that says pause, and then I flip it, it says time. But it's an easy way of asking the speaker to pause. So I agree. Or Edwin's, remember to pause. We all
or just a finger.
Yes. Oh, beautiful, Kathy. Okay, that's the answer. Thank you very much. Appreciate this. And I was going to pass to Michelle, but I think I'm going to pass to Edwin instead.
It's Bill's going to do this part.
Oh, Bill, sorry.
Oh, what happened here? Okay. All right. So we're going to go into the breakout rooms. And what's going to happen today is you'll have a chance to facilitate, but you'll be doing your how-to. Now, so you'll do the how-to, and then you'll go right into the facilitation. So that's going to be as real time and as possible. If you want to have some challenges, you do not have to have challenges. Everybody is going at their own pace. That's part of the design of the training, to allow people. But if you want, you can have none, low, or medium. And if you want to, like if you had a specific type of challenge, you certainly can ask for that. Yeah, so we're going to, the facilitators will introduce the practice. They'll do the how-to. You'll set the topic. We'll set the time. That'll be 3 minutes for this to give you a chance in those transitions. The facilitator will be the first listener, assuming that everybody or people are new to the practice. And then we'll end with the feedback debrief. We'll have a short feedback. Facilitators might do it differently. We might have a short feedback after each facilitation or at the end, depending upon how time allows. Okay. If there are any questions about that or any of the other trainers would like to add anything, or Edwin, if I missed anything.
Yeah, I'll just add that
Sure.
the context is that you're facilitating with people who are not familiar with the empathy circle. So when you're facilitating, we're just pretending nobody knows anything about empathy circles. And so that's sort of the context. And that's why you'll be like the first facilitator, because you're wanting to model it, the practice. Yeah, that was it. And I see Kathy had something.
Yeah, Kathy?
Yeah. So we're doing 3 minutes, not 4 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right now. And that's the reason sometimes it feels a little bit short, but that's so the facilitators can practice that transition. That's really one of the key skills that you're learning here, how to make those transitions. So we're right on time, and we'll be going into our breakout rooms.
Yeah, so we'll have an hour and a half for this, and I'll send a notice about 10 minutes before we close. There'll be a couple rooms with only 2 participants. So as a room facilitator, you'll want to divide the room into, two parts. We have Trey, who's just going to be and Floyd will just be observing. So just because of they're just not feeling well, but so glad that they're here just to kind of keep connected. And I think that's it. I put into the chat, sort of an outline of what's going to be happening. It's each facilitator introduces the practice. The topic facilitator sets the topic of their choice or whatever's alive for you. The time limit is 3 minutes. Facilitator is the first listener. Yeah, so so it should all be in there in the chats to guide you. So I think we're ready to go. There'll be one room. I'll be facilitating and we'll stay here and see you in the rooms. Okay, great. So 3 of us, 4 of us here. And so you'll each get to, someone can start, you'll give the how-to instructions. And but before we start, also say like what level of challenge you want, like no challenge. Like if you've had a hard day, it's like, oh, I can't handle any challenges. That's fine. Or you can say medium, a lower or medium. So let's see, room 2, wait, somebody's 1 minute here. This is also the weight room here. Yeah, and I just saw that somehow you were not sure where your room is. I'm a little confused here. 1 second. This is also the organizing room you are in, and room 8. Okay, sorry, move to, I don't know how, so you should be with Trey and Melissa and Anjali. So there you go. So we're in the weight room here. So if people drop out of the call, they come back through this room. So it may be a little bit disruptive. So I'm going to bring up my clock here. So you'll each have about 20 minutes for your section, to give the how-to and then facilitate your empathy circle. So who would like to start? Or Dwayne, are you just a question?
I have a question. Excuse me. As the participants, are we the ones who bring up the challenges?
Oh,
Or is
it's
that
just
something
it's
you're?
just me. I'll be the
Oh,
only
okay.
person doing the challenges. So
Oh, okay.
I probably should have mentioned that the trainers, trainees know that they're the ones that give the challenges. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
And so who would like to start? Just introduce the empathy circles and facilitate it. You set the topic too. Okay, Tiffany, you'd like to start?
Yes, I'd like to get it out of the way.
Okay. And would you like any challenges? Would you like any challenges? No challenges, low or medium?
Medium.
Okay.
Okay, so good morning to some of you all. Good afternoon to others. Welcome to my virtual empathy circle. And empathy is, what drew me to empathy is how important it is that it's a skill that we improve upon, and how we need more of it in society. So that's the reason why I'm a part of it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 minutes for each person. And in those 3 minutes, you have an active speaker, and then you have a listener. And so I encourage each of you who are the speaker, who is the speaker, to pause frequently and give the listener an opportunity to repeat and validate what you said, minus the judgments and, over analyzing or adding more to it. You're just repeating what the other person said as best you can. And if you missed out on something that they said, it's okay to ask that person to repeat it. Yeah, so it's not stressing you out or putting you on the spot or anything, but just making sure the other person feels heard. And I will hold up this time. And I also put like 20 seconds because I want people to feel like I have a few more seconds to wrap up and not just an abrupt stop talking, So give you an opportunity to kind of get your thoughts together and continue and say whatever it was you had on your mind, just to wrap it up. Okay, sounds good. All right, so the topic of choice and I'm going to ask in just a moment for someone to volunteer to be the speaker. But as the facilitator, I would just like to set what I think we should discuss, or whatever's alive for you. And I think that the first topic should be something this week that really made you think, or whatever's alive for you, which is essentially is probably the same thing. So who would like to be the first speaker? Dwayne, you'd like to be the first speaker?
Yes.
You'll speak and occasionally pause. Who would you like to ask to be your listener?
You'll want to be the first listener as
the
facilitator. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be the first listener. So go ahead, Dwayne.
Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon. I had a really interesting experience this week. I had a surgical procedure on my legs that involved having surgery 3 days in a row.
So you had your salutations, and then you began talking about how you had a surgery this past week and that it extended for 3 days in a row.
Yes, and it was a really interesting experience because the first day I had surgery on my right leg. The second day I had surgery on my left leg. And the third day I had an additional surgery on my left leg. And they were all outpatient surgeries.
So they were all outpatient surgeries. The first day you had surgery on one leg, and then the second day the alternating leg, and then on the third day they revisited another leg.
Yes, and it was challenging mentally, especially for the first day. But I found that it was also challenging returning, knowing that I was going to go through that same process again and again.
So it was challenging the first day. And additionally, it was challenging because you knew that you were going to go through this same process the next day and then the day after that.
Yes. And so I challenged myself to mentally work through this process and still focus on the positive outcome that the surgery was going to have for me in my life.
So one of the challenges was to focus not only on the surgery itself, but on the outcome of what the surgeries or the impact that it would have on your life moving forward.
Yes, and it was a really good experience for me, and in a sense, metaphor for life, in that life constantly presents me with challenges, and that it's important for me to find a way to work through them, no matter what they are.
So the surgery was that of a metaphor to see your challenges and how to get past them, no matter what they are.
Yes, in that life is, being in a constant state of flux or change. It consistently presents us with different challenges, presents me with different challenges. And it's good to stay focused and focus on a positive outcome no matter what's happening.
So and just in life, to stay focused on a positive outcome no matter what happens.
Yes.
And that's your time. Do you feel fully heard?
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
I was hoping I did a good job. Thank you, Dwayne. So I will be the speaker. Edwin, would you please be the listener?
Listening.
All right. Something that made me think this week was I had an empathy buddy call, and my buddy was talking about something that I'm not interested in at all. So how important it is to stay focused in the buddy calls.
Yeah. So for you, it was there was you had a buddy who was speaking on a topic that you weren't interested, and you just sort of noticed that how you have to really focus to stay interested in what they're saying or to hear them.
Right. So it's not that my buddy was not interesting, but the topic itself, which is politics, is very difficult for me to follow because I didn't have a lot of history with his particular state.
So it's not that he wasn't or interesting. It was just the topic being politics in his state, that you didn't have any sort of background information about that.
Right. And without background information, I found it hard to even repeat and validate what he was saying because I was trying to think about what I knew.
So it was hard to kind of reflect what he was saying because you just didn't have any background information, and you were trying to kind of relate it to what you understood too.
Mm-hmm. And so this morning in the empathy circle with just the trainers and trainees, I was listening to one of the other people there who was saying it's not about really it's not about connecting with what they're saying, but just hearing them and making sure you're active listening.
So the question today about it's really important for the person to feel heard to their satisfaction, that kind of really resonates. It's just about hearing them, not so much about the understanding.
Mm-hmm. So that's something that I really thought about this week, and I'm going to move forward with that it's not about my connection with it or even my background schema. It's just about what did that person say and validating it.
Yeah, so you're really seeing that it's not so much about your schema, kind of your thoughts about the topic, but just hearing what the person said. So it sounds like it was sort of an insight that you had that got you thinking, and you're just, yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm practicing mindfully removing myself and my feelings from something and just listening to the other person and repeating what they said.
Yeah, so you're really seeing it. It's just mindfully not thinking so much about not thinking about what you have, but just being present with the person and hearing them is what you're trying to focus on.
Yes, I feel fully heard. That's my time. Thank you, Edwin.
then if I pronounce it right, Sarika, is that?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, I'll speak to you then. Yeah, with the that topic of listening is we're trying to listen to someone and just hear them to their satisfaction. And by doing that, we get some understanding, but the focus is on hearing the person to their satisfaction.
So what I've heard you say is with the topic of listening, we're focusing on listening and hearing someone to their satisfaction.
Yeah, so it's about bringing sort of your presence, which you're doing. Thank you. Just bring your full attention and presence, and just really trying to hear the person and what they have to say, and maybe the feelings behind what they're saying too.
So in listening, we're bringing our full presence and listening and hearing what they have to say in that moment.
Yeah. And in terms of the topic of something that made me think, I've been working on a project to define empathy. So I got a group of 2 PhD people who have PhDs in empathy, and we're starting a group to really work through the definitions of empathy. So that really has given me a lot to think about. So it's kind of a fun project that I'm sort of enjoying.
And regarding the topic, you are working on a project with 2 individuals who have their PhD in empathy. And so this is something that's alive in you, and it's something that you're enjoying working on.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin.
Just a moment here. We have about 1 minute left. Could we take the moment and give you back the gift of time? If we could just take this last, 50 seconds to just silently reflect and get ready for the next round. Not to interrupt you, Sarika.
I was fine with just ending my turn.
Oh, ending your turn early.
Yeah, I was good with that.
Okay.
So Sarika, I'll just I'll let you know when we're ready in just a moment. Okay, Sarika, so would you like to choose a speaker or ask a speaker? Or I'm sorry, a listener.
Oh, sure. Dwayne, would you be my listener?
Yes.
Okay. So thinking about this week, something that's been on my mind a lot this week is the school shooting, actually.
Sarika, and reflecting back on this past week, the thing that's been on your mind is the school shooting.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. That was really a horrible thing that happened with the school shooting.
Edwin.
So, yeah.
Edwin.
Uh-huh.
At the next round, when you are the speaker, you'll get to share. But right now, we like Sarika to continue without any.
Oh, okay, sure.
Thank you.
Somehow it's connected to why? What the heck?
Sarika, you can continue.
Oh, yes. So,
I know I'm disconnecting.
I think Dwayne's having some
Dwayne,
trouble. There's some technical.
would you mind
problem.
muting your? Do you have technical issues?
Still can't.
No, I just heard you,
Oh.
Dwayne.
Okay, excuse me. I have a technical issue. I couldn't hear. My apologies.
no.
Sarika, you could start again.
Okay. Yes. So when I first heard about this school shooting, it almost felt like I was desensitized to school shootings in general because they're happening so frequently.
When you first heard about the school shooting, you felt desensitized because there have been so many in the past.
Yep. And then I read through an article about the shooting, and it really made me think about the state of our nation and the state of parenting.
After reading an article, you were able to think about it more deeply, and you thought about the state of parenting in our country.
Yes. So it made me think about who's accountable when school shootings happen, and should people be held more accountable when these incidents happen.
And after reading the article, you thought about accountability and responsibility. Who is the person, excuse me, you didn't say person, but who's responsible for these shootings?
Yes. It's disappointing to hear about these incidents and the lives that are affected by these incidents.
And you further thought about how these shootings impact people's lives. And I think basically that's.
Yeah. I feel sadness for the children that were impacted by this shooting and how their lives will be impacted moving forward.
You feel a sense of sadness for the children who were impacted and how this will affect their lives moving forward.
Yeah. So not just the lives that were lost, but the ones that are still alive.
And the impact not only on the students who lost their lives, but also the students who survived this experience, would have to live with this experience.
Thank you, Dwayne. I feel fully heard.
Okay, we had a couple of people join. I just want to move you to the right rooms. Deirdre, which room were you in? Room 4 with Celine. Okay, assigned to room 4 with, and Dana, are you just coming late? I don't think you were in a room. Is that right? Oh, what did I? Oh, I put. Oh, sorry, I got 9, and then I hit the wrong room 4. So, okay, hopefully they've been moved to the right rooms. There we go. Okay, so that's, like I said, this is sort of the wait room, so some stuff will come through. So
right.
Sorry for the interruption. Yeah.
Now I've become the speaker, and Tiffany, I'd like to ask you to be my listener.
Sure.
It's interesting reflecting back on what Sarika was speaking about. I also had a similar experience with the school shooting.
You also had a similar experience with the school shooting.
Yes, in that my initial reaction is another school shooting. And then learning more information, I began to think more deeply about school shootings in general.
So your initial reaction was another school shooting. And then you began to think about school shootings in general.
Yes. And it's interesting because when thinking more deeply about it, I thought about an experience I had when I was in high school.
You began to think about an experience that you had when you were in high school.
Yes. I grew up in Los Angeles, in West Los Angeles. I went to Venice High School, and as a senior, I tutored 10th graders in reading and math.
So you went to Venice School in Los Angeles, and as a senior, you would tutor sophomores.
Yes. And we had there was occasionally shootings around our campus in our community. And I became a little bit desensitized to it.
The shootings were happening frequently in your community, and you began to be desensitized to them.
Until one day, a student was shot in the head near our school. Fortunately, it grazed his head and he survived. Turned out, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can, I'll pause.
So a student near your school was shot, the bullet grazed his head and he survived.
And it was one of the students that I had tutored and I had worked with, who was a gang member who was attempting to turn his life around. And he had progressed a lot during the tutoring process.
Okay. And so the person who was shot was a former gang member, and he had really turned his life around during the tutoring process.
Yes. And in concluding, it became real for me that shootings in schools, around schools, is a really important thing, and it does impact people's lives.
Mm. So in conclusion, the shooting that you experienced and the shooting that you're seeing on the media, it does really impact people's lives.
Yes. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for
that was-
sharing something like that with me. Edwin, did you have something to
Oh,
say?
it was, we're at the end of our time slot for your part, Tiffany.
Yeah.
So we want to take 5 minutes to debrief. So would you like to just share how was that, facilitating that? And I did throw in one little challenge there to you, say, yeah.
Yeah, you did. I noticed there was a difference in me. I have a very calm demeanor and decorum, but I noticed that my voice has been different this entire time. It's more shrill because I'm anticipating the challenges. I'm keeping the time, and I'm also trying to actively listen and delegate. And that was it was to the point where I really didn't enjoy the session. So that's how I felt about it. But I do appreciate what Dwayne shared and what Sarika shared. And of course, what I shared, it has nothing to do with what was said. It's the stress that comes with facilitating.
Right, yeah. So anyone else? How was your experience with Tiffany facilitating? You want to give any feedback?
I think, Tiffany, you have a very strong, assertive presence, and your voice. It's interesting. Even though I sense you were a little bit different than the way you usually speak, still you were able to maintain your composure and work through the challenges that were presented to you. And so I thought that was good.
Thank you.
Yes, I think I had a good understanding of the process, how we were going to move forward. We were able to maintain time, and then Tiffany handles Edwin's challenge really well. And
Thank you.
just one more thing, it's Sarika.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did I say?
Sarika.
Okay, Sarika, sorry. I'll write that down phonetically.
Okay, yeah, so for me, yeah, it was when doing the facilitation to begin with, there is a lot of anxiety with holding all the balls. It's like and so there is some, and that's what we're practicing here is, well, how do I hold these balls and responsibility? And especially if you're dealing with people who aren't familiar with the process and they're stumbling, with it, like, I was a new person. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to interrupt. And I felt like you kept me on track. Like, it seemed like you did a good job of keeping me on track. So that's to be expected, and that's why we're here practicing. Otherwise, I sensed a little bit of, stress, but, the whole process was, very well held, I felt. So I felt pretty secure in the process here.
Thank you.
Okay. How did you feel about the 20 seconds?
Sorry.
Oh, so
I was just about to say that I really liked the 20 seconds. So that gave you an opportunity to be able to wrap up and not end abruptly.
Okay, anything else before we move on to the next person? Okay. Who would like to go next?
I guess, I'd like to go.
Oh, great.
Okay. Good morning and afternoon. My name is Sarika.
There's somebody just joining us. Just one second.
Okay.
This, because we're in this way, this is an added challenge. This is the extra challenge room.
This is the challenge, huh?
This is the challenge room because we're the
right.
Hi, Joyce.
Oh, hi, yeah, I am coming in late. I mentioned this before, but
Oh, all right. Yeah, you had said that you were. I
reminder.
thought you weren't even coming today. So.
Oh, okay.
But that's great that you're here. Yeah. Do you want to just stay in our room and observe? You can just be an observer.
Yeah, sure. I'll just be the silent.
Okay. So Sarika is starting off. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning and afternoon. My name is Sarika, and I will be your Empathy Circle Facilitator today. Empathy circles are an opportunity to practice empathic listening. Today we'll have a speaker, an active listener, and a few silent observers. Today's topic will be what is alive in you today. I'll give you the opportunity to just speak about what is alive in you, or how would you like to spend the last month of the year. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. I'll simply ask that you speak in small portions to give your active listener an opportunity to reflect back on what you've said. So I will be the first active listener, and I will allow a volunteer to be the first active speaker. Would anyone like to volunteer? Thank you, Tiffany.
I'm really excited about talking about the last month of the year, what we're gonna do. And I think the main thing that I'm going to focus on in the very last month of the year is not so much goal setting for 2022, but what did I learn in 2021?
Thank you. So you said you're really excited about talking about what you're going to do in the last month of the year, and you're not so much going to focus on goal setting, but on what you're going to do during the last month of the year.
Well, just I want to take the time in this last month of the year to really reflect on what I learned.
You're going to take the time to reflect on what you learned.
Right. And one of the things that I learned from this year is that I really needed this empathy circle.
And one of the things that you learned this year is that you really needed this empathy circle.
Yeah,
Right.
I really needed it as well. I think
I was
we're
just
both
trying
in the
to
same boat, that we both really need I think everybody needs an empathy circle. Yeah, it's really important to have empathy circles.
Thank you, Edwin. At this moment, Tiffany is the active speaker, and then we'll have the rest of you just silently observe, and then you'll have an opportunity to speak as well.
Oh, you mean I'm not supposed to talk now?
No, not at this moment.
Oh,
But
okay. Sorry about that. Sorry, Tiffany, everybody. I didn't realize that. I'm kind of new to this, and it's kind of, I didn't know how to do this.
no problem. We're just practicing empathic listening at the moment. But Tiffany, would you like to continue? Can you
Do
just—
I get my time? Do I get my time back?
You'll get some time back. So if you'd like to just repeat what you've said again, and then I'll reflect back.
Yeah, so I was saying that the Empathy Circle has been so healthy and helpful for me. And at first when I joined, I thought it was kind of corny because I felt like, well, everyone knows how to listen. So why is this challenging, or why do we need a course on this?
Okay, so what I've heard you say is that at first you didn't really see the value in empathic listening, and you thought it was corny, and why should we have a course on this?
Yeah, so I realized that it was intriguing enough for me to come into it, but when I went to the first session, I was like, why do we have to practice hearing people? This is not important at all. But then over time, I realized that it is essential to all communication, and it's essential to connecting with people that I talk to.
And in the first session, you were intrigued because at first you thought that we didn't really need this, but now you realize that it's essential in helping us connect with people.
Right. And if you don't connect with people, you know, you can't have those meaningful conversations. You can't deepen relationships. You can't build trust, and you have no concept of communication.
And if you don't build meaningful connections with people, you can't connect with people, you can't build trust, and you can't have meaningful conversations.
Right. And it's so important to have all of that in order to have deep and meaningful communication with different people.
And it's important to have all of those skills to have deep and meaningful connections with people.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all that I had to say, how important empathy has been to me. And that's what I'm reflecting on in this last month.
Okay. And that's what you're reflecting on during this last month.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Sarika.
Would you like to choose a, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Now I'm the speaker. Dwayne, would you like to be my listener?
Yes.
Okay, great. So with it being the last year of the month, similar to what Tiffany said, I don't really like to do New Year's resolutions, but I prefer to reflect.
Since this is the last year of the month, excuse me, the last month of the year, it's your preference to not focus on New Year's resolutions, but to reflect.
Yes. And because it's been a very long year, I would like to take the time to just be still.
It's been a long year for you, and you'd like to take time to be still.
Yes. The year started off for me very, very chaotic. So I want to really just take some time to be still and quiet.
The year started out very challenging for you, very chaotic, and you want to take this opportunity to be still, to be quiet, be in the moment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is kind of boring. Can we just talk normal without the reflection? It's like, maybe we could just can we just have a normal discussion without, it's kind of boring doing this.
I understand. I'm sorry that you feel that way, but this actually is a really great skill. Kind of like Tiffany said, you know, it gives us an opportunity to learn to connect more with people. So you know, if you give this process some time, you might find that it's really beneficial to you.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
Okay, thanks so much, Edwin. I appreciate you being here. So I am really thankful to have December as a time to be still and practice presence.
It's really important for you during this time to practice being still, being present, being in the moment.
Yes. December is actually one of my favorite months of the year.
December is really one of your favorite months of the year.
Yes. I really like Christmas movies. And so it gives me an opportunity to watch Christmas movies without an excuse to watch Christmas movies.
One of the things that you enjoy is watching Christmas movies, and the month of December gives you a good reason for watching Christmas movies.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you, Sarika.
And now, Dwayne, you'll choose an active listener.
Okay, Edwin, I have a question. Joyce is observing in terms of facilitation training.
She can be a participant too.
Okay.
You could speak to her. It'd be good to bring her in.
Okay, thank you. Joyce, would you like to be my listener?
Yeah, I can do that.
One of the things that I think about often is the power of positive thinking, the power of how I use language as a tool.
Yeah, so one of the things you've been thinking about is the power of positive language and language as a tool.
Yes, and something that I've thought about for most of my adult life. And I had a really interesting experience this past about a week ago.
Yeah, and it's something you've been thinking about for most of your adult life. And you had an interesting experience about a week ago.
I was at the Bayou Classic, which is a football game that involves two historically Black college football teams in New Orleans.
Okay. And so you were at the Bayou Classic, which is a game between two historically Black colleges in New Orleans.
Yes. And I was sitting in a suite, a luxury box with people mostly that I didn't know. And I got into a conversation with a clinical social worker who does psychotherapy somehow.
Okay, and so you were in a suite, kind of like a box for sitting, where you got into a conversation with a clinical social worker.
And we were talking about language and the importance of language, and she was telling me how language is really important. And then we got into details, and she was talking about things being hard and difficult, and I challenged her on those words.
Yeah, and so you got into a conversation with her about the importance of language, and she started to talk about how it was something was hard and difficult, and you challenged her on those words.
Actually, she's the person that introduced the conversation, and but began to use, I don't have enough time to explain, but it was really interesting in that this person felt that they were very aware about how they use language, and yet they were continuing using unhealthy language. When I challenged them on it, the person told me that I was delusional. and that positive thinking doesn't work.
Okay, so it sounds like she was the one who introduced the topic, and she was continuing to use unhealthy language, and you tried to challenge her on it. But when you did, she called you delusional, and then went on to say that positive thinking really does work.
The only thing I changed is that she said it doesn't work.
Oh, it doesn't work.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
Thank you. I feel heard to my satisfaction.
Joyce, you would be after.
Okay. Great. Edwin, would you like to be my listener?
Listening.
Okay, so I am thinking about what I just heard from Dwayne, but also a presentation I just gave to a different group on climate change and community resilience.
Yeah, I've done a lot with climate change too. I have worked with this group called Extinction Rebellion.
Edwin,
yeah.
I would ask that you reflect back what Joyce has said and not add in.
Oh, so I'm not supposed to add my own ideas?
No.
You mean I just say back what Joyce has said? Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Like, I can ask Joyce to repeat it and then reflect back.
Okay, could you say it again, Joyce? I forgot. I was thinking about my own stuff when you were talking. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So the thing that is alive in me in this moment is thinking of things that Dwayne just said, and then thinking about a presentation that I just had to give about climate change and community resilience.
Oh, okay. So you're thinking about something that Dwayne said, and also about your presentation on climate resilience. That's kind of on your mind.
Yes, yeah. And so I think something that's just a continual aspect of my job is figuring out how to say things in a way that will be understood by other people with very different backgrounds and maybe a lot of blind spots, as Dwayne's example showed. People can have very, very deep blind spots, and it can show up in so many different ways.
Yeah, so you're looking at how you can convey information in a way that people can really understand, so that they're not missing. You're not seeing getting to their blind spots.
Yeah, and so let's see. Like a lot of what I tried to convey in my presentation was a lot of the risks that we're going to be facing with climate change, and how important it is that we shore up our communities. So like a lot of these deep problems with economic stability, strong social networks,
I'll just ask that you pause in between what you said.
Oh yes, yeah. Yes, I'll just pause there on the thought of trying to I tried to convey the risks of climate change and how shoring up communities is one response to that.
Yeah, so you're trying to convey in your presentation that there's these risks to climate change, and that creating strong communities is an important aspect of that.
Yes, yeah. And so then after I gave my presentation, though, we had a discussion about what the group wanted to do based off of that.
And you had a discussion on the topic afterwards. And also, it sounds like what they're wanting to do in regard to that.
Yes, yeah. But then in the discussion, half of it was about waste and recycling, which for people who like or understand climate change, it's not about, recycling.
Yeah, so the people, instead of talking about community building or something, they just wanted to talk about recycling, and that's really not the bigger picture. That people in the know that that's just a small part of the whole picture. And maybe you felt some disappointment that they were going in that direction.
Yeah, so I got to see in a different context just how you can try to communicate one thing and then people can go in a completely different direction. And yeah, I feel heard.
Okay, yeah, so it's like you kind of saw how you're trying to explain one thing, but people go off in a totally different direction than what you were sort of had your intention was. And you feel heard with that. Then, okay, then I'll speak to Tiffany.
Sure, I will listen.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the school shooting topic, because I think that the shootings like that are an empathy deficit, and what we're doing here is really, the foundation of addressing those problems of school shootings and shootings in general.
So you want to revert back to the school shootings because it illustrates the lack of empathy. And the purpose of the empathy circle is to fill that deficit. It impacts everyone.
So if the school had had empathy circles, on a regular basis, where all the students got to talk to each other and be heard, I think that person who was the shooter would have sort of started feeling more connection and maybe not been so alienated or developed all the resentments or angers or whatever it is that was the motivation. So I think that schools like that, or all schools, should be doing the empathy circles like every day, the students. Yeah.
So for whatever reason that the active shooter did what he did, we could have decreased the possibility of that happening if there were more empathy circles practiced at schools where students could listen to one another and get an understanding and connect with each other.
Yeah, and I was impacted by a shooting as well. There was one in, I think it was New Jersey, at a newspaper, and someone came in with a shotgun and shot a lot of the reporters. And one of the people was my partner's cousin, was one of the people that was shot. And just a couple of months earlier, we had been together at my partner's, her mother's, she was in the process of dying from a hemorrhage. And he and I had been just sitting there, talking, and a couple of months later, he was shot at that shooting. So I was impacted as well, personally.
I believe what you said, and I had a bit of trouble following, but I believe what you said was that your partner either is related to or knows of one of the people that was shot. And this is in reference to a New Jersey newspaper where someone walked in and shot at least 6 people.
Yeah, it was her cousin, my partner's cousin that was shot. Yeah.
It was your partner's cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And you
had seen him just recently too. Yeah. So.
And you saw him just recently.
Yeah. So, and again, I think that's empathy deficit. It's to bring people together so they start connecting. I know the shooter there had big issues with the newspaper, and I see my time is up, but there's had big issues with the newspaper, and if they would have had empathy circles to talk about it, maybe that would have helped too.
So if there were empathy circles where people got a chance to talk and connect, that would have helped to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I feel heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Now you can pick an active listener.
Okay. Dwayne, would you be willing to listen to me?
Yes,
Thank you.
happy to.
So I don't want to say that I forgot about everything that has been going on I don't want to say that I forgot about everything that has been going on with the shootings, but I have definitely felt overwhelmed because the school shooting was not the only shooting I was thinking about. On Thanksgiving, you know, a lot of people were killed by their family members and it made national news. And so it's been a lot this past, I would say, 10 days.
It's Tiffany, appreciating what you said. It wasn't that you didn't focus on the shooting that took place in the school shooting in Detroit, in Michigan, but you also were aware that on Thanksgiving, a lot of people lost their lives by other family members.
Right. So I think psychologically, because of the school shooting, plus the other media coverage of people who have died just from people in their family, I've actually tuned everything out, if that makes sense. And I have completely shut that part down and have stopped watching the news and stopped tuning into anything negative. It's like I'm intentionally not focusing on anything negative.
The school shootings, the people dying on Thanksgiving, it was a lot for you, and you purposely wanted to disconnect from all that negative energy that was coming in as a result of the coverage of these events. So you turned off the news and you turned your attention somewhere else.
Yes, and as a result of that, I think it's intentional about me not tuning into the news, but it's not intentional that my mind has completely shut down to all the things that I've heard in the past week. I don't know if that's a psychological explanation for someone who just completely shuts down about anything negative once feeling overwhelmed.
You found yourself shutting down because you're overwhelmed by negative energy, and reflecting on it, you wanted to be able to separate the idea that these school shootings took place and the other deaths took place on Thanksgiving, but to separate that from the news and turning off the news. And so you turned off the news, but these other things were still in your head, and you wanted to get rid of those negative thoughts. Is that close?
It's yeah, in a way, I shut off the news intentionally. What I'm saying is that I didn't intend to forget about all the negative stuff, but for some odd reason, I have forgotten about everything. The school shootings, until you all just brought it up, I had forgotten about everything.
It wasn't your intention to forget about those events, but something happened with you that you automatically stopped thinking about those things, and they weren't a part of your consciousness until we spoke about them in the group here.
Right. And so I've never experienced that before, but I just noticed now that anything negative, I have completely forgotten about this past week. And I don't know if that's normal or not, but that's just how I how I felt.
This past week, you disconnected from negative thoughts, and you don't know if it's normal or not, but that's what your experience was this week.
Yeah. I feel heard, Dwayne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we want to give a debrief now. How was that, Sharika? How was your experience? I see you put some in the time in the chat there. Yeah. Okay. How was the experience?
It was good. It was interesting managing the challenges. Yeah, it was interesting managing the challenges. I think similar to Tiffany, getting used to, juggling all the different aspects of managing the time, facilitating. I think the trainees and the trainers make it look so seamless. So it'll be interesting to get, used to it because you all make it look so easy. So yeah, it was interesting. I think one thing that I might want to do is at the beginning kind of explain the transition between the active listener and the active speaker, so that I feel like the process will go a little bit smoother if I don't have to explain it in between, each transition. I think it takes away some of the time.
Okay, anyone else want to give feedback? Tiffany, you up for?
Yes. Oh.
Or whoever. Tiffany, do you want to give some any feedback?
Sure. I think it would be beneficial to people who are on a phone. Like some people are tuning into their computer, Sarika, but some people are going to be on the phone and they're not going to be able to see your chat. So I saw your visual cues. It's okay to hold it up a little bit longer, like if someone doesn't get it. I know you probably want to be polite, like I shouldn't have to tell you to do this, but for some people, you really are going to have to say something. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dwayne.
Sure. Sarika, I appreciate your calm, mellow demeanor. I think it's really effective. I like the way you asserted yourself and allowed Edwin to finish what he was saying, but then reminded him about the process. Mm-hmm. Similar to Tiffany, I think it would also be good if you hold your time signal up a little longer, or make sure that we're aware of it. But that was the only thing is that I saw as a challenge. But I really liked the way your demeanor and everything. It has a really calming effect on me.
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting that my screen is blurred out, so when I hold the phone, you can't see anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also I just want to say you really handled it well, because I forgot to give you a compliment, because we did have an added person in there. So not only did you have to do challenges and keep the time, but you had to include someone else. Yeah, you had to do more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Joyce, how was the experience for you?
Yeah, kudos also for having a second challenge group. I think you just handle it very gracefully, and I would echo, I think your very calm, firm demeanor is really great. Like the way that you kind of pinged people when they were straying from the process was very effective. I didn't feel like it was intrusive or anything at all. It kind of just smoothed things out really well, and then we just kind of continued on. So I thought you did that very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll comment. I also will mention that the calm, the warm, sort of a gentle presence, it's very relaxing. You feel in safe hands. I did throw 3 challenges at you. I forgot to ask if you even wanted challenges, but you seem to be up for it. So, and you handled those, it's like sometimes people don't even realize there's a challenge there, but you picked up, hey, this is not right here and I got to correct this. So you were right on it, kind of, addressing the challenges. So that was, and again, there's a lot to juggle, and the more you do it, the easier it is. I am pretty much have a pretty big sign here, make it, I'll sort of slowly, bring it up. So it's really obvious sometimes if you're just holding up a little something, it's not really clear if what that is. So I just try to be pretty obvious. I also have a sign, I think, about pausing, I'll have a little sign that says, remember to pause. But then again, if people are on a cell phone, which you can usually tell because of the smaller window, they don't always see everyone else. So having a little chime in there, they definitely don't watch the chat, putting the time in. You just want to really let them know. So time. Yeah, I think that was it for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I might want to integrate Tiffany's 20-second and then your remember to pause in time, because I like both of those.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the 20 seconds because you're going to be giving them 2 notices. Sometimes it can be a little disorienting because they're seeing that sign. They have to, I tend to like just at the very end saying this, but you can sort of experiment if it, if it works for you, then if it works for Tiffany, then, you just do what kind of feels comfortable. So, okay, well, let's do the next person then. I think it was Dwayne, you were up. What level of challenges do you want? None, low, medium?
I'll let you decide.
Okay.
I'd like to welcome you all to our Empathy Cafe today. I'd like to begin by just having everyone go around really quickly. Tell us your name and where you're located. Would you like to start, Tiffany?
Sure, I'll listen to you. Oh, you want us to just say
Your name and where you're located currently.
Okay, sorry about that. Wasn't listening. Okay, my name is Tiffany and I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Next, Edwin.
Yeah, Edwin in San Francisco Bay Area, El Cerrito.
Sarika.
My name is Sarika and I am in Baltimore, Maryland.
And Joyce.
My name is Joyce and I am in San Leandro, California.
Thank you all. My name is, again, Dwayne. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm going to be your facilitator today. And I'd like to begin by introducing you to how the process works. First, there'll be an active or empathetic listener. And that person will have a chance to pick the speaker. The speaker will have 3 minutes to talk about talk about the topic, and the job of the active listener is to reflect back on what the speaker's saying. We encourage the speaker to pause in between their ideas so that the active listener will have a chance to reflect back. Then once the speakers completed their 3 minutes, they'll have an opportunity to say something like, I feel fully heard, or I feel heard to my satisfaction, or something of that nature. And then the speaker becomes the listener and they pick someone else to speak. And I'd like to begin by being the first listener. And I wanted to, excuse me, Edwin, would you like to be the first speaker?
Sure. Then let's see, what's the topic? Or do we just sort of talk about anything, or we've got some topic, or what do we?
Yeah, excuse me for a second, Edwin. I need to introduce the topic. And the topic today is what's alive for you, or your interest in our current climate challenges.
Okay. Yeah. So what's alive for me? Not really sure what's alive for me. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say yet. Yeah.
Edwin, for you so far, you not sure what's alive for you today, and you don't have a lot to say so far.
Oh yeah, I there's, it's come up a couple times here about the when you're facilitating, there's a lot to sort of juggle. And that's also for me, I'm sort of juggling the whole rooms. Like I have a chart here. I mean, I have all the rooms here, and I'm keeping an eye on, what's happening in all the rooms. Is anybody dropping out? Is there any problems? So there's sort of a distraction level. So that's the thing with facilitating, is you have sort of like part of your awareness or consciousness is off, thinking about other things and kind of.
Edwin, could I ask you to pause for a moment?
Oh,
so I have
okay,
an
sure.
Opportunity to reflect back. Just in summary, we've been talking a lot about the challenges of facilitating as an individual facilitator. But for you, as a facilitator of the entire process, there's a lot more challenges involved.
Yeah. So it's interesting how, you can't be just totally present with the person you're speaking to. You're sort of thinking of all the other things, and it creates sort of a little bit of a detachment, and sort of getting comfortable with that. And it takes a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of skill, a bit of practice to get comfortable with kind of holding the whole process.
One of the things that's really challenging about the position you're in, and it also relates also to facilitators, but on a different level, is being mindful, being present with the person who's speaking, because there's these natural distractions that are happening during the process.
And then what's really nice is when everyone knows the process, right? So there's hardly any facilitation. Like if everybody here knows the process, there's no challenges, then it's just really nice. There's almost like nothing to do because everybody, you maybe just keep the time. But it's really when there's new people and, there's a lot going on and they don't understand stuff. And that's really where the challenges come in.
The real challenges for you, the real challenges exist for people in your position who are facilitating the entire process. It's a lot less challenging for facilitating a group like this, where everybody knows what's going on. They're familiar with the process and the protocols of the process, but it's more challenging facilitating the entire process.
Yeah, so that's like for all of you who, it's the time. Okay, I feel heard.
So, and also a reminder that after the process is, the speaker is finished speaking, you have an opportunity to state whether you feel like you've been heard. And, often we use a term like, I feel fully heard, but you can use whatever term you're comfortable.
I feel fully heard.
Thank you. Okay, I will become the speaker now, and I will pick the next listener. Sarika, would you like to listen?
Sure.
Okay. It's interesting being in the position of facilitating. And I've been facilitating groups for most of my life, but for some reason, this has been challenging for me.
So, Dwayne, what I'm hearing you saying is that it's interesting being in the position of a facilitator. You've been a facilitator for most of your life, but this specific position has been challenging for you.
Yes, and part of the issue is for maybe the last couple of years or so, I've led a really quiet life in retirement, and I haven't been as active as I had in the past. And so it's like learning how to ride a bicycle again.
And part of the issue is that for the last couple years or so, you've led a really quiet life in retirement. So you're comparing this to the process of learning to ride a bike again.
And this is really exciting and challenging for me. And even though today, I'm not feeling well, dealing with a respiratory issue, I still want to be here and be a part of the process because of people like you who are part of this conversation and the energy I get from participating in this process.
Yeah, I have that same sort of energy too. It's really a lot of fun kind of just seeing people when they're all sort of charged up and energetic. So I kind of have that same kind of experience.
Edwin, Edwin and everyone else in the room, I want to remind you that the way the process works, we have one speaker and one listener, and you'll have another opportunity when it's your turn to speak to reflect back on what someone else said while they were speaking. But until then, I would encourage you to be a silent listener and be ready for your turn when it comes up.
Oh, I see. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize that that's how it worked here. Sorry, everybody. Didn't mean to interrupt.
It's okay, Edwin. And
Dwayne, I just ask you to restate what you were saying again, and then I can reflect it back.
sure. And even though today I'm not feeling well, I have some type of respiratory issue, I wanted to be here and participate in this process because of the energy that I get from being around people like you. And that's why I'm here today.
And you said, even though you haven't been feeling well, you've been dealing with a respiratory issue, you are excited to be a part of this process because of the energy that you get from being around people like myself and the others in this group.
Yes, and I'm reminded how important it is to be a part of something like this and to help create opportunities for people to speak, for people to listen, for people to feel heard. And I agree with what Edwin said earlier, that there's a high probability that the person involved in the school shooting, had he had an opportunity to do something like this, he might not have picked up that gun.
And you're reminded of the importance of empathy circles and empathic listening. And you're also reflecting back on what Edwin said about the school shooter and the probability of, had empathic listening and empathy circles been integrated into school systems, that maybe the shooter would not have did what he did.
Thank you, Sharika. I feel fully heard.
You're welcome, Dwayne. Thank you. Joyce, would you be my listener? Thank you. Let's see, what's alive in me? Okay. So thinking about what we've talked about so far, it's hard to pick just one thing to talk about.
Okay. Thinking about the things we've talked about so far, it feels hard to pick one thing to talk about.
So it reminds me of the importance of empathic listening and empathy circles.
And it reminds you of the importance of empathic listening and empathy circles.
I've been really, I guess, enriched and blessed by this process because it's allowed me to practice presence and gratitude.
You feel really enriched by this process because it allows you to practice being present and being gratitude.
Yes. I really agree with what Edwin and Dwayne have said about the necessity for empathy circles being integrated into school systems.
You really agree with what Edwin and Dwayne have said about integrating, the need for integrating empathy circles into our school systems.
I think about preventing conflict and then post-conflict resolution. And I think that what Edwin is doing with ECF training is so important.
Yeah, and so you think about preventing conflict and post-conflict resolution, and you think that what Edwin is doing with these trainings is so important.
Yeah. and just looking back on kind of my state of mind when I first heard about the shooting and all the thoughts that I've had since reading about the shooting. I really hope that this training can benefit schools in the future and prevent some of these shootings.
Right. And you think back to your state of mind when you heard about the shootings and how it's affected you reading about the shootings, and you really hope that having these trainings integrated into schools will help prevent.
Thank you, Joyce. I feel fully heard.
Tiffany, would you like to be my listener?
Sure.
Okay, something that I think comes to mind hearing everybody talk about the importance of empathy and trying to create more empathy in our schools. And society is I think that's something I learned about recently going on in the Bay Area.
Okay, so you're thinking about empathy in the schools and around the Bay. Did you say the Bay Area?
Yeah, and something that I just learned about recently that's going to be starting in the Bay Area.
Something that you learned about recently that's going to start in the Bay Area?
Yeah, and so I just heard yesterday actually that one of the counties here is trying to move to a community paramedic kind of program for certain calls that normally would go to police.
So there's something starting for calls that would normally go to police. It's going to go to like a empathy, like paramedic.
Oh, like a
community
paramedic format. Yeah, and so the conversations around the schools made me think of that because it makes me very hopeful that a lot of people are understanding that there are gaps, that our school systems and also just other systems that we have are not meeting.
It gives you hope because we're forming things that will help our school systems to help meet a need that's not currently being met with empathy. Is that correct?
I guess I would say more specifically that yeah, generally people are starting to recognize and try to act on seeing that we have systems with gaps that are like harming or not meeting needs that need to be met.
Okay, so we have systems that that have needs that are not yet being met.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. So Dwayne, how was that facilitating? Any thoughts, experiences?
That was fast. How was it facilitating? It's interesting. One of the things that you spoke to about balancing all the different things as a facilitator of the larger group and I was anticipating my speaking opportunity while making an effort to be focused and listening on everyone who was speaking as we were leading up to it. So, and also not feeling well, so doing my best to balance the energy. It was challenging for me, but at the same time, once I got past the initial introductions and not remembering to introduce the topic, I was okay.
Great. So we'll just go around to Joyce. How was the experience with doing facilitating? Any feedback?
Yeah, I thought that you like did well explaining how the facilitation worked. Like I remember a moment where like when you were like showing how it worked and you were speaking with Edwin, you were good at kind of like checking and maybe steering back onto course for the process. And then you kind of like explained really clearly afterwards, like, okay, now I'm going to choose the next speaker. And then that person is, or like, like afterwards, like that person will go on to be the next listener and like things like that. So yeah, I thought you did well, and I very clearly saw your time. So that was good too. That was a good touch.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarika, do you want to?
Yeah, I like the introduction. I think you did a good job just kind of holding the process. You managed Edwin's interruption pretty well. And I think I had a good idea of, where we were going throughout the process. So thank you.
Thank you.
Tiffany? You're muted.
Excuse me. So I had to take a brief bio break. So I wasn't necessarily, I don't feel like I was present for the entire thing. Yeah, I think you handled it well with Edwin, like intentionally interrupting. It's okay to not let him finish. You know what I mean? I felt like you were being polite. I mean, people usually are, so you want to let him finish, but he was in the wrong. So it's okay if you go ahead and, maybe not immediately, but not let him go on and on before telling them it's inappropriate.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So for me, at the beginning, there was a little bit of, I think the speaker and listener part got a little kind of mixed up there. There is always these how-tos, if anyone, and this is for everyone, just to have that printed and handy, that you can kind of have that handy just to review. You were if you feel very grounded and very warm, sort of spacious, so that feels comfortable. There was, this is a little bit to the side, Joyce, your microphone is really quite, I think you must be having a built-in microphone. Is that like a laptop? You have a built-in microphone?
Yeah, I normally have headphones.
Oh, okay.
But I lost them. So
okay, yeah, you definitely need new headphones with an external speaker, or even just an external speaker, because we're hearing all the computer noise and it's kind of hard to hear you. So that's just a little bit of an aside. Otherwise, you caught me, I felt okay. Oh, you kind of corrected me. It's kind of a, at what point to interrupt someone, because sometimes people will go on and on and on and on. You just can't, you just got to stop them at some point. I didn't go on too long, but it's kind of like at what point. And, sometimes just as a general tip for everyone, I'll say, oh, I really hear you have something to say. We really want to hear what you have to say, but and you'll get a chance when it's your turn. I kind of say that something, or I'll reflect a little bit of what they said. Oh, I think you're saying that this thing is important to you. And we do want to hear that. So a little bit of reflection, a little bit of empathy before correction is kind of like a broad general concept for everyone. We've got like about 30, about a minute and a half here before we go into the breakout. Any questions or any, just before, is this here Dwayne's final comments? We'll get to you, Tiffany. Any final thoughts?
Well, I appreciate the feedback, and I'll continue to work on improving my facilitation skills. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice. Tiffany? Oh, you're muted.
I was going to ask you, Edwin, before we go back into the room, I asked trainees and participants with the welcome back.
Yeah, you'll be doing the welcome back. You'll just be doing the participants, not the trainees. And you're giving everyone a minute. So unless, if it seems like it goes really fast, like within 15 minutes or so, then you could ask the trainees, because you've got 25 minutes about for that section. So we're sort of playing it by ear, like,
oh, okay.
The main thing is to hear the participants, kind of what their experience was.
You guys pray for me.
Yeah, that's another part, right?
You'll be fine.
We're all learning. It's like there's a lot of learning here. There's a lot of growing. We're all, I'm learning how to facilitate large groups. You're facilitating, these groups, and so, and then when you take the training, you can come as a trainee, like Tiffany is, and you'll get to present different parts of the larger room. So you get some experience learning that, and kind of work your way up to becoming a trainer of the whole process. Oh, and see, I just went over my time. I got the timer here. Talking, went 30 seconds over.
Just one quick comment. Just wanted to extend to anyone that would like to practice on a buddy call or anything, feel free to contact me. I'm retired and I have lots of time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone in our group. Well done. Felt in good hands. So.
Do you want me to take you?
Well, either that, or I need to have your car key for a moment to get my typewriters out of your file.
Let me see if I can go. Oops.
Okay, great. Welcome back. Tiffany, you're going to do this section.
Welcome back, everyone. So we're going to take some time this is a debriefing period where we hope we get around to everyone is moving around on my screen, but everyone will get to share 1 minute, their reflections about today's empathy small breakout room circles. So again, if you're just now joining us, you'll take 1 to 2 minutes to reflect back on, your experience with the small group. What would you like to share about it? How did you feel about those challenges? How did you feel about the total experience for today, with it being different? Again, please keep it to 1 to 2 minutes, and I will go around and ask people to share. Joyce, would you mind beginning?
So I'll go ahead and share that I was a surprise challenge for the group that I popped into, because I came in at 11, but I got to see how me as a challenge, and also the other challenges that Edwin threw at the speakers were handled, and I got to I think see a lot of strategies that I'll be taking back to when I facilitate my own space.
Thank you, Joyce. Sarika?
Yes. So I enjoyed today's session. It was very helpful actually having Edwin throw a few challenges at us and figuring out how to maneuver those challenges. And I just really enjoyed being able to kind of reflect on my week and talk about how I'll be reflecting for the month of December. So thanks to my group for just kind of their reflections as well. It was a really nice session.
Thank you, Sarika. Shauna?
Okay, where do I start? I'm trying to regain everything.
I know.
I got thrown off. I was.
I know.
But this was a wonderful experience. The challenges, thanks to Ralph. I explained that my heart went to my throat, then on my tongue, then in my ears, because the challenges were coming through. However, with that, it provided an opportunity on how to navigate, and receiving feedback helped me to know what to do, because I did have a challenge yesterday in one of my empathy circle, and this today showed me how I can actually address the challenges and to make sure to maintain everyone holding the circle. So I found the experience today beneficial, and yeah, I keep practicing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tarlise?
Yeah, today was amazing. I think Ralph is awesome. I think everyone in my circle was amazing. There was so much insight and wisdom and expression in our circle, and I enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed watching my other members handle their challenges. And I think it was done just so honorable and gracefully. I really enjoyed that. And I'm just looking forward to more experiences. I think this is a wonderful thing that's being done, and it's necessary in our world. So that's how I'm feeling today.
Thank you, Tarlise. Laura?
Hi, I really loved the topics everyone chose, and they were all interesting to me. Although I asked Ralph for no challenges, I created my own challenge by forgetting to set the timer. I'm sorry, Larry was our main facilitator, and I asked him for no challenges, and I created my own. So I really liked how everybody responded to everything, and how, as each person became the facilitator, how well they did.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that, Laura. BJ?
Yeah, I think for me, it was interesting. I love that our room was positive and the topics were interesting. It was very interesting to hear everybody's different viewpoint on certain topics. And I want to thank you, Larry, for the challenge. I enjoyed you, Johnny, and Laura also. And I'm just looking forward to learning more and working on my opening and not forgetting things that I know in my mind, but comes out differently when I speak. So it's just a matter of keeping on. Thanks.
Thank you, BJ. Johnny?
Yeah, everything went all right after my anxiety came back down from the roof. I enjoyed the groups and the group topics. Definitely enjoyed the feedback from everybody. Was a little bit that's minimizing. I was a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning, but as I sank into the role, it got a little bit easier. So I think the biggest challenge for me is getting my intro done properly and getting out of the worry mode and into work mode. So.
Thank you for that reflection, Johnny. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done,
Yes,
Johnny?
ma'am. I was
Okay. Deidre?
Thanks. I'm still reflecting. I so appreciated my the folks in my group. I think they did a fantastic job of under adverse circumstances, really. And our facilitator Celine was also great. But I have to find a way to just sit with the feedback without having a follow-up question. That's my work.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Deirdre. Payal?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed the Empathy Circle experience. I learned one interesting new thing, which was not a challenge, setup challenge, but happened to be a challenge where when the active listener does not respond enough, what does the facilitator do? To me, that was an interesting new challenge, that do you intervene or not? And I got a perspective from Celine. So that was interesting for me to see how could that play out. Yes, thank you.
So your question was answered, Payal?
Yes,
Yes, Celine.
my
Okay.
question was, so it was not a question, it came up and it was unexpected, and I learned from that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Vera?
Yeah, I loved the experience of having the challenges. That was awesome. I had an amazing group. I think all of the groups that I've had in the empathy circles have been amazing, but just today was definitely amazing and really really special. Loved the feedback. Loved the challenges. I mean, I know it's the way I think about it is it's good to have the challenges in the safe space when we're just learning, rather than having it for the first time, in real life. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do now? So it was really perfect and awesome to experience it so that, when the time comes, or hopefully not, but if it ever comes up, then I know what to do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vera. Jing?
Yes, I'm really enjoying my group. I think we had a very good conversation, and our conversation can go even deeper and deeper, So I really like it, and I really like to have a challenge adding on. I found it fun. Actually, I feel that it's add a sync to the converse to the to the circle. Well, but in reality, probably I don't really want to have much or so difficult challenge. But in this situation, I think it's very good, and it's very good way of learning a new thing as well. So I really like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jing. Jana?
Well, it was very interesting to have a group with challenges. Ralph is a very endearing challenger. I just found it funny, but it was very difficult. In terms of the group, it was more challenging to be in a group and with kind of anti-empathy happening at the same time as empathy is happening. And yeah, thank you to my fellow participants. And
Thank you, Jana. Dwayne?
I really enjoyed my experience today with Tiffany, Sarika, Edwin, and Joyce. It's interesting. It was challenging for me to get out of bed this morning, dealing with the illness. But I'm really happy I got out of bed because I was able to experience the magic of the empathy circle. And it's interesting because this is a facilitation training process, but at the same time, this is the real world, this is life. And I'm happy to be a part, or to use the words I read somewhere, a companion on the journey of the people who participated in the process with me today. So just want to say thank you to the group. Thank you to Edwin. I had a very positive, energizing experience, and I feel better as a result. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anjali?
Yeah, so we had a wonderful session, and I learned about the importance of setting up the session really well, because particularly when it came to the challenge, I thought that I was supposed to accommodate and make that work, and maybe I was being tested for how things happen in the real world. But then I was brought back to the importance of setting up the empathy training circle well, and that is where a lot of the work goes. And then we also had a good discussion on what happens if you have somebody who is upset or angry, and how do you create the safe space for good communication. Yeah.
Thank you, Anjali. Jaya?
Hello, everyone. So today was an exceptionally difficult day for me because I am feeling so sleepy. Uh, so having said that, and I said that twice in the group, just putting it out made me feel better. And I had exceptional people in my group. I had Bill and I had Jeng and Floyd. Though he was not on camera, but he was still there. So one of the things that was very interesting was that I learned is when you give a theme, it is also important to say that, you can also talk about something which is also, which is alive in you right now. That was my learning from this experience that I did. And there was one or two more, like when somebody is chatting consistently on the chat, and if you think that that's a disturbance, it's better to respond in the chat and not to stop the flow by saying that, you speak when your turn comes. I think this was very, very important and interesting today for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a special consideration for the people who are not necessarily in the United States, but they're joining us in the empathy circles, because sometimes it's like 1 or 2 in the morning where they are. So thank you all for coming. Dina?
I had a great time with Kathy and Vera and Alyssa. And one of the challenges being a facilitator is making sure that you give all the roles and time and handle everything. So, and if you have a challenging participant, Kathy said, since we're on Zoom, just put them in a timeout, put them out the room. No, she didn't. I'm sorry. But we had a good time. The topics that everybody picked was very interesting and challenging to discuss. And we learned some stuff about each other and our lives experiences. So it's great. I'm looking forward to next week.
Thank you very much. Let me see. I'm trying to see if I've gotten everyone. Kevin, did you get the opportunity?
I would like to just thank everybody. It was a very rewarding experience with Celine, Deidre, and Paya. The challenge, it was awesome. I think I learned a lot of new strategies. One thing I really came away with is being true to yourself in reference to your self-awareness of what you are doing and can do, and being present with that. And I just want to thank the group for helping me with that. It was awesome.
Thank you. Floyd?
Yeah, really brief. I was witnessing the room. The lady did a great job, and I was really glad that Bill could keep up with them. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for letting me be with you today.
Thank you, Floyd. Alyssa? If you're able to join us, please do.
Sure. I liked how our group was open and it seemed like we each of us got something from it, and it was nice to see that.
Thank you. Trey?
Hi. Yeah,
I had a very strong learning experience in the circle today. I was not able to participate or give my full presence, but based on the challenges that my group have faced, I definitely feel now better equipped to facilitate a circle in the future.
Thank you, Trey. Again, thank you to a lot of people who came anyway. I know that everyone today was not necessarily the best day, for different reasons, but I still thank you for tuning in. I think we do have some time left. Is there any trainer or trainee who would like to share? You can lift your hand up and I'll acknowledge you that way because my screen, I have two screens here. Any trainer, trainee who would like to add
Ralph
anything?
and Ralph is there.
It was wonderful.
Okay.
It was a wonderful experience, and I didn't know that until close to the very end, and given the feedback, because I felt like those people, that give you your booster shot.
Mm-hmm.
You need the booster, and it hurts. So there's that. Somebody said empathy and anti-empathy thing going on there. So I'm going in the future, I'm going to say again and maybe repeat it during that this is a necessary discomfort, introducing these antibodies to make us stronger and be more prepared. It's like all those months that Muhammad Ali spent sparring to fight for a few minutes, and the people that we're going to encounter in the street, they don't know any of this stuff. So it's going to be all anti-empathy to overcome. Take care of oneself, always. Done.
Thank you, Ralph. Larry, I believe your hand is up.
Yeah, I'd like to acknowledge BJ, Brenda, Johnny, and Laura. I think it was such a beautiful circle in that, the space of empathy was maintained. We went through our nervous anxieties, went through the process, recognized that this is just like riding a bicycle. We're nervous in the beginning and we just keep at it and it gets better and better. And it's really beautiful. I thank you all, and a big acknowledgement to this gentleman, Edwin, for putting this together. This thing that is so relatively simple with such a profound result that we can all share. Thank you, Edwin. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to share?
Well.
Oh, Kathy, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, I would like to thank Edwin for this creation also and those who helped him. My group was it was just a very touching place to be today. And the topics were the most creative topics I've ever heard in all my times in groups. And everybody brought a beautiful essence to their work. And I think that's really the foundation of facilitation, is the essence you bring to the circle. So thank you, Vera, Alyssa, and Dina.
Thank you, Kathy. Let's see. What else? Anyone else like to share?
I think Anne has her hand up.
Okay. I'm sorry, I can't see everyone.
Just really quickly, yeah, I'd like to appreciate my little group of Anjali and Melissa and Trey. It was a privilege to be working with you all, and thank you all for turning up from your various corners of the world and to be here to make this happen. So always very grateful and appreciative.
Thank you, Anne.
I think Celine has her hand up.
Tiffany, I'd like
Celine.
a moment also to appreciate my group. I thought came in with a lot of skill and also ready to work, ready to learn more. And it was very enjoyable. And even if I was a little difficult, they handled it.
Thank you, Celine. Bill?
Yeah, we got into a little quantum physics where we realized that not only we ourselves, we are each other. And I really enjoyed the people in my group and hope that we all rubbed off a little bit on each other. I really like that. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Bill. And may I add, I'm so glad, Bill, I wasn't in your class because you can bring some challenges. I was so scared. I was so nervous a couple of months ago. But you're great. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Last call. I believe that's everyone who wanted to speak or feels welcomed enough to speak. Again, I thank you all for this opportunity. And I will pass this to Edwin for what's next.
It's Ralph is closing us off here.
Oh, okay. Well, no other final trainer comments. Okay.
I have one.
Oh, yes, please.
Yes. Okay. So I want to thank everyone, the entire team. This is a whole team effort to develop this. It was Bill and Lou that created the kernel, the foundation of this training, and we just all keep iterating on it. So really appreciative of the entire co-creation team, and you can all join that team to keep developing and expanding on the training. Also, to kind of get the word out, somebody had asked, oh, how do I get get participants to take part in the training, or not the training, but in your empathy circles? Well, one thing we do is we have our intro cafes, which are right now every Monday, and they'll be on, after this cohort, they'll be on Saturdays as well. And the number one best way I found is to get the word out has been through LinkedIn, inviting friends and contacts. So there's a LinkedIn event for our intro cafe, and you can go there and invite up to 1,000 friends a week. And that just sort of pings them, lets them know about the event. And so I know Larry has done a great job of inviting, and he's in the diving community. There's all these people in the diving community kind of see joining that event. So if you haven't, and if you're on LinkedIn, it would be a great a reminder to go in there, and the instructions are on the event, and I'll also send an email on how to invite your friends and contacts to those intro cafes, to kind of send out the word. And there's a little video of the kind of a step-by-step on how to do that. And also, in terms of empathy buddies, some people have had trouble connecting with their empathy buddies. If you're wanting to do more empathy than just one empathy buddy, I think Dwayne was offering, hey, I'm open to doing more empathy buddy calls, that you can post your name in the LinkedIn chat or the Facebook chat and say, hey, I'm open to doing other empathy buddies calls, or even if you want to email the full list, we don't get too much email going, but that you can do more than one empathy buddy call. So that was me. Thanks, Ralph.
Okay, so a couple minutes left as we bid a fond farewell to our island empathy paradise. Let's review what we did. We practiced the empathy circle process with instructions on how to participate in an empathy circle. Everybody who wanted to practice facilitating a short empathy circle, including the opportunity to ask for challenges. And we debriefed, importantly, the experience at the end of the empathy circle. So what's coming up next week? I'm glad you asked. Session 4, we'll practice again without the how-to, and you can ask for challenges. Assignments will be sent out an email. Reminder to fill out, please, the session feedback survey. The link is in the chat. Please, if you can, hold an empathy buddy call, and you'll be paired up with a new empathy buddy, and what Edwin said, and try to facilitate an empathy circle with family, friends, etc. And now, would you please post one feeling that you have as a result of being here today? And people feel grateful, open-hearted, calm, peace, gratitude, accepted, empowered, prepared, inspired, energized, connection, empowered. And I feel well pleased. So we have time for jazz hands and a fond farewell. Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you, Buddy Call. See you next week.
Thank you. See you, everybody.
Good week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Larry.
Okay, we're doing our debrief. We have a 3-minute bio break. I'm not sure who was going to do this. I forgot this section. Post session. Celine was going to do this post session. But 3-minute bio break. See you back here for a debrief.
Are we still recording? Right.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, Celine.
I've been thinking of you and losing your fish. How sad. Oh gosh.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, those innocent beings and here that you've become attached to and suddenly boing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shall we start, Edwin?
Okay. Yep. Sounds good.
So I'm just getting a debrief from folks.
That's it. Just calling everyone. How was it as a facilitator?
Yeah. So
Maybe.
I guess my question is,